So Joe Kennedy was considered Germany's best friend during the war, prior to World War II. And of course, historians and everybody in this country has made excuses for all that. And I'm sure that every president, regardless of party, would just, oh, well, let's just move on and look to the future. Yeah, so one thing I've learned with God is God, expects you to face things head on. Not just forget all that, it doesn't matter. No, it's important. It's really important because so many of the Nazis got in here. And look, I'm not trying to go after the King family or the Kennedy family that's still alive. But racial problems got worse, not better because of civil rights. Because the Nazis, well, they didn't like whites, American whites, or blacks. They didn't like any Americans. See, the Nazis, they thought all that American diversity stuff was gross. And they had many other reasons they didn't like America. So the FBI had concerns about the Kennedys. Rightfully so. And yet, when Kennedy came in and MLK, they just started attacking CIA and FBI. I'm not saying CIA was perfect because they did let some Nazis in, but at least the FBI had made JFK, because of his relationship with an actress that was tight with Hitler. They had him move him from South Carolina to another base, and yet this man went on to become president. And what did he do the first minute he was in office? F up the Bay of Pigs. So he could attack the CIA. And yet had a fascination with Hitler. And so most people would say, you don't know that. No, this is common sense. This is just bullshit common sense, okay? So look, for Black Americans, there's one thing that white Americans and Black Americans have in common that nobody will see this video, but I'll still put it up, is that we share a history of America together. See, when they bring Kenya students here, nothing against immigrants that, immigrate legally. This is just talking to Black Americans that have, been born in America, regardless of the history. You've been told what a horrible place this is. But there is that root that we all have in common, is that we were born here. See, there's a reason they wanted Black Americans to start referring to themselves as African Americans, because then all these civil rights leaders that never really dealt, their focus never was really on Black Americans. It was African Americans. That's the reason they needed Black Americans to refer to themselves as African Americans. You needed to recognize that your history doesn't identify with America. It identifies with segregation and oppression globally with people that are the same color as you. Yeah, see, you don't want to go down that road. I mean, if you want to, you can, but you're allowing the Nazis to do what they've always done. Because what our biggest bond is, white and Black, and others that were born in this country, of course, is that we've all been getting screwed over in one way or another by this system since the Kennedys. It wasn't really before then. Was there segregation in the South? Yeah. I mean, Abraham Lincoln tried to deal with it. Most of our leaders were not for that. Again, if you really look into the roots of that, there were people sending boats of Blacks here, and we were sending them back. And then a lot of these people went on to form bonds with the people, they didn't want, it's not that, some of the presidents that did have slaves, they knew that if they let them go, somebody else was going to grab them. you really have to look into that history and not just listen to everything you've been told, because most of the rest of the world was far worse when it came to slavery. And at some point, all of us have been enslaved. Whites are constantly enslaved by Islam. So try to put that aside, even though I know, oh, it's the history. But the one thing that bonds all of us is we were born in America. And they want you to hate your country. They do. But what civil rights leader has ever done anything for the ghettos besides give good speeches and maybe do some fundraising here and there? But think about all of them: Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton. I mean, there's a slew of them. All of them being tied to international civil rights. So how does that help Black Americans? Well, it doesn't, but it was never meant to. Because they look down on Americans. They do. That's the reason they see us as trashy. It's not just Black Americans. I mean, Hitler was as racist to the blacks as he was to Jews. So, it's just interesting that when Kennedy got in, it's just when everything got worse. And then that's why all we ever hear about is, oh, the historical systemic abuse. Well, yeah, because of Nazis. But not all Americans are like that. But Americans have been pulled in different directions because of it, right? Police get pissed off. Black community gets pissed. Everybody playing into the Nazis' hands. Literally playing into the Nazis' hands. It pisses me off so much what these people did. JFK, MLK. And again, I'm not for, let's just brush it under the rug, because what was done was deliberate. See, they see us, they see Americans as trashy. They do. They saw Black Africans as higher class than Black Americans. And that's what pisses me off, because they see that about all of us, because that's the reason they wanted to send, Haiti people here that eat dogs and cats, because, oh, we're just going to destroy your culture. So if we want to be a wise country, Black Americans and white Americans need to realize that we've all been being screwed over, and even your civil rights leaders have done very little for you. They've only used civil rights to try to divide, and Kennedy and JFK and MLK helped do that. So stop falling for it. I know most people would say those men are dead and we shouldn't tarnish their name. No, they tarnished themselves. If all the scholars in this country who also look down on Americans, I mean, many of the scholars are from that same cloth. Some of them, a lot of them. If they don't want to use common sense in this area to see how aligned the Kennedys were, and there were so many people that knew it too. That's why I don't think you're ever going to know who killed them. I don't think you will. I said a while back, and it's wrong for me because it is wrong, but maybe people knew too much and thought, no way. It's not right, but if people knew about the Kennedys, they knew about Joe Kennedy and Joe Kennedy Sr. or Joe Kennedy Jr., and that doesn't mean I would go after RFK or any Kennedy alive now, but we need to realize that the civil rights movement wasn't meant to bring people together. It was meant to drive Americans apart so that you would hate your country so much and no longer want to identify with it. So I say Black Americans and white Americans should stop playing into it and say, no, I'm a white American, I'm a Black American, and that's what I identify with, and I stand proudly for it, and I no longer believe the bullshit lies.